Maybe the right. Great. Welcome everyone to this open house. Very good to see you all. Um, it's not really a class. So, I mean, normally I start everything with a little arriving moment, but I think I'm going to do that anyway, but not a very long one. Just like a little half 30 second, a minute pause, just to kind of help transition into this place as much as for anything for my benefit. Maybe hopefully help you as well. Maybe you've come from something else. So yeah, I'll say a few sentences, but let's just take a minute, just to kind of gather your awareness in your body. Maybe you might look around or just sense your body in the place you're in and particularly feel or begin to feel the support, whatever's supporting your body. And also just turning inward and acknowledging just how you are right now. Maybe there's a lot things going on and it's been a busy day and you're still arriving from that. Or maybe you feel very present and spacious or anything in between, all of that and anything is welcome, whoever you are. But particularly noticing if anything that would help you to be more present. It could be the breath or your body, support, something you're taking in through your senses. To spend a tiny bit of time just taking that in. Okay. So big welcome to you all. Um, as I was planning this today, I realized it might not, I don't know how long it's going to take, but what the plan is, and I'll give you an overview of the training, both in kind of the essence and the sort of the core pieces of the practitioner training that I offer. And then there'll be a chance for question and answers sometimes during that, but it may be some questions if you could, there'll be a few pauses, maybe one or two pauses to hold for questions around bits. So maybe I'm telling you some stuff about it, and then you get to ask some questions. That's the format. Maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. I don't know. We'll see how things go. It's the first time I've done it like this. Normally, I do lots of one-to-one interviews, and I'll say a bit more about that later. So it's nice to sort of have everyone in one room at once. It seems like a good idea in terms of my time. And I took the idea from Anne Weiser Cornell, one of my teachers and friends. He does this every year. So yeah, so the training, which begins in April, I think I wanted to say something about the heart of the training, really what it rests on, something like that. And that would be, well, really, it rests on your love of focusing, really, and wanting to share it with other people. Everyone who comes on a training has, it's focusing isn't just a kind of sideline, if you like. There's always some sense which is really important to people. So it's your own connection and your own love of focusing that really is at the heart of anything you do, really, of focusing related, but particularly this training. Um, and so that's really there at the heart of it. And anyway, that's where it comes from in me. I really want to share focusing, so you can share focusing, and that's how it's always been for me. As soon as I learned focusing, I wanted to teach it, and that's yeah. I guess that was to groups, particularly in that stage. But whoever it is for you, I'm guessing it's something that's alive in you, and that's what we're really drawing on your aliveness, your connection with the practice. I guess another piece of it is around it's about living a focusing life. So it's not just about a professional thing, as far as I emphasize it. It's about really letting focusing sort of seep deeper into you. So even if maybe it's a bit right now, it might be a little bit distant, or you maybe not doing it so much. But by the end of a year or two of teaching it to someone else, it really drops deeper into people's experience. That's what I've noticed. So if you have a desire to do that, then that's a great place to do the training. Just going to mute. Um, a couple of the principles I want to talk about. One is around diversity. By diversity, I mean diversity of how people teach and practice focusing. Right at the heart of the focusing world is a kind of full permission to teach it and share it in any way you want to. Now, which I really love. There isn't a trademark process. There isn't a kind of you have to go and teach it in this way and exactly like this. Uh, so it's something that really is you make your own. Of course, you'll be modeling on what you've done already and what you've learned from me or other teachers, obviously. But there is this freedom in it, which I really love to because you have your unique connection to the people who you're teaching and sharing it with. That's why it's that diversity is there because every situation needs something different. And that's something I really love about it. So it may not exactly look like I do it or someone else does it or the books do it. You've got your own gift and way with focusing and your own, maybe your own context and community you want to share too. So diversity is important. And also the other bit I want to say is it's informed by the felt sense. So it's very much, it might be different from other trainings you might have done where there's like a very strict kind of you have to do this requirement by this point in time, and if you don't, then you fail. Or there's it's much more of a kind of what would feel right next. What is your felt sense of what needs to happen in the training? I mean, there is a program, there is a structure, but at the heart of it is the felt sense, the focusing principle we know about. But, so yeah, some ways you might decide to sort of approach the whole journey will be guided, I hope, by your own sense of what's right for you and what's good for you in your life. So there's a few principles I want to sort of drop in at this point to bear in mind, really, as you hear about the details. Do they make sense? Good. So I'm going to just kind of run through the main aspects of the training. I mean, I think everyone who registered for the seminar, I did send out a PDF, so you would have seen some of this, I hope. But just as a kind of a bit of an overview right now, and for those who haven't looked at it. So I'm going to talk through the one, two, seven main elements. There are a bit more than that, but there's seven kind of big pieces of the training, um, or aspects really. I mean, the first of which is that you are a cohort, you're a group of people training together. I think that's really important. Even though you might be all around, it's an online training by and large, but you might be all around the world and different time zones and whatnot. You are a cohort coming together to learn and practice and train together, and that's a really important aspect of it. So you're not on your own with it, because yeah, in a way there is your unique way of doing it, and there is the gifts of doing it together. So I can't understate how important that is. So there is a cohort of people, which is a maximum of 12 for each training. So that's yeah, we come together and then the main things we do as a cohort are three training events in the year. So they are three terms, if you like, within about 12 months. So one starts in April next year, then there's one in September, one in January. And they're slightly uneven lengths for reasons which I won't go into right now. But it's like 9, 11, and 10. But yeah, so those are that's when we meet every week, or in fact, or you might some of those weeks you actually just meet each other. But basically, your meet those 30 meetings are already a core piece of the training. You know, where you're coming together. I'll be teaching you bits about focusing. There'll be practice sessions with each other. There'll be demonstrations. They'll be looking at different topics, how to introduce people to focusing. You know, what happens when someone gets overwhelmed? What happens when someone's silent? What happens when I have no idea what I'm doing? Like in any other situation, and looking at trauma, looking at resonance, looking at you following your own felt sense. There's lots, yeah, deepening your guiding. There's lots of topics we'll be covering in those modules, really enabling you to teach focusing one to one, or teach slash share focusing in a one to one setting. So those are the training events. Um, you're also required to assist on a couple of workshops, which is really a lovely thing to do. Most people really enjoy it. Assisting is joining in of a course again you might have done with me or an equivalent, and assisting is partnering up with people largely and sort of contributing to group discussions, and it's kind of like it's a refreshing the focusing material by joining the course, but also you will be one step removed if you like, because you would have done something like that course before, and you'll be assisting and working with people one to one. So it's a really nice role, and it's very supportive for me, and yeah, all the students I know really enjoy it. So assisting on events. Then included, you've also got 10 mentoring sessions with me, 10 1 hour sessions in a period of your training, not necessarily in that year, but in the period of your training. So we have that one-on-one time. So it's one-to-one sessions, which is your one-to-one sessions you're doing with people, which is 30 hours. You're required to do 30 hours of session work with people. That doesn't mean 30 hours of focusing time. Some of those might be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but 30 kind of sessions with people. Uh, and that's the main thing I want to say about that. So yeah, that's a big piece of work. That's finding those people, recording the sessions, reporting on them coming back to getting supervision on them. But largely we're looking at recordings together, so that we're looking at that. So that's really where one of the big bits of practice is through the one-to-one work. Um, Two more bits and I'll pause. There's also a bit of project work for those who want it. This could be a substantial bit of work or kind of more of a mini exploration, but often people have got a real interest in something like a special area that they really want to do focus. I want to explore what it's like to take focusing into creativity, or I want to explore the inner critic. A lot of people I know really struggle with the inner critic, or I want to work with in my coaching, So there might be some real specialist area you want to take focusing, and there's a chance to do that, and use some of your session hours even to do that. So that's a kind of more it really gives you a chance to kind of follow your own where you're alive in focusing. I really like this bit of the training. So you don't have to know what it is at all right now. It often just emerges, but it just know that you can really sort of take focusing down your special avenue that's unique to you. So that's a project, and there is some written work which you'll probably do towards the end. There's a choice two out of three written pieces, which again is in the outline you would have seen. More or less, most people do that. Not everybody likes writing, or even actually finds it quite stressful. So for those people, we can just talk it through. But basically, there's some reflective process at the end of a training where you get to share what your journey's been like. So those are the main kind of pieces, and just put on a pause really, just if there's any questions around any of those. So I'm just going to actually put that little list in the chat. Cohort training events. I mean, there are also other supplementary bits, but they're the key bits. Assisting. There we go. Yeah, 7. Any questions about any of those pieces? Yeah, Sue, please go ahead.
In terms of the 30 hours, how are you evidencing them? Do you record them? Is it a reflective process?
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's going to want to be recorded, so I try and encourage people to record all their sessions. But of course, that's obviously got to have permission, and some people don't want to do that, and they're really valuable practice sessions. So I wouldn't say don't do them. Um, so yeah, if you're not recording them, then the only evidence is you saying them you've done them. So I'm not going to sort of follow up for people, but I sort of trust people that you're going to get on with it really. But yeah, we'll be looking at 10 recordings together, more or less. Not necessarily complete recordings, but pieces. And that's really rich learning, sitting down together, listening to how you're guiding and reflecting. I mean,
Mm.
it's so valuable. And yeah, I think it's where the biggest learning happens. And we'll do that as a group as well, which is there's so much to sort of refine in how to guide and listen to somebody that comes out of that process. So yeah, thanks, Sue. Anyone else? Anything about those pieces? Yeah, Dieter.
Thank you, Peter. I put it in the chat whether you could share the chat later jointly
Sure.
with the recording. But my question is, can you explain a little bit more about that cohort? I understand the word, but not sure whether I get the concept here.
Well, mainly it's like you won't be alone on your training journey.
Yeah.
You'll be traveling together, largely through the
Mm.
structure of these training modules and other. Also within that, you'll be having focusing triads, which is like practice triads. So you'll be meeting each other 30 times in that year, like maybe
Yeah.
more
Okay.
as well. In fact, a little bit more. So yeah, and that gives there's a lot of support that can be gained from that, and it is a significant dimension of the training. I wouldn't call it a requirement because you can't do it without it, but
Yeah.
it's just integral into the training, really. Yeah. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Totally, totally. Okay. And the sessions with others, the 30 ones, doesn't necessarily imply that these are 30 different people. Could be more than one session with one person.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'll go into all the requirements, but I mean, when we start the training, but it's something like between seven and eight, nine people. So there's
All right.
an
Okay.
amount of people where, yeah, so you might do three sessions here, but then want six with one, six with someone
Yeah.
else, or so you're not,
Sure.
yeah, because you never, yeah, you don't really go deeper if you're just doing one session per person. It'll be
Yeah.
too,
That's why I asked.
yeah,
It would be very superficial.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's right. You're onto
Perfect.
it there. Perfect. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, Lee, I can see. Yeah.
Is when you're talking about assisting
hmm
you, is everything done online or is there any in person?
Um, for me, there's a might be some in-person opportunities to assist. Like I'm doing it, I do, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 weekends in a day here and there, and some retreats. So there's not many in-person assisting opportunities, I have to say, not compared to online. I mean, it's small, but it might be possible. Yeah. I mean, there is a possibility of assisting with someone else. So like if there is something a teacher near you that's teaching in person that you'd really rather assist with, then maybe we could
Mm.
come up with a plan. So I wouldn't want it to be a kind of stumbling block.
So
Yeah.
it's also, I mean, I started doing this during the pandemic, so
hmm
it. But then since then, I have done a few in person, and
Mm.
it's a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I wondered in the teaching, if all of our experience is kind of 90% online, how do you um how do we learn the experience of doing a one-to-one in person? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
do you teach about that anyway? Because I think
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, in fact, I encourage people to do both, some one-to-one teaching in person and some one-to-one teaching online. So you get a feel of both. Because yeah, like you say, they are different. And I think they need I mean the teaching isn't hugely different. I mean they are but I think it will come from the experience of doing it. Like if you'll all the processes well, yeah, it's not the same problems, if you like, or the same issues crop up in both situations with people. And
Mm.
and it is also like qualitatively different working in person too. But so yeah, we will touch on that for sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, great. Yeah, Alison,
Hi. It's a rather dry question.
these
Um,
all questions are
I,
welcome.
yeah. I'm just wondering how these the 30 sessions that we're hopefully recording as many as we can, how that sits with the Data Protection Act and those all the legal implications, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as far well, I haven't really digged into it deeply. I mean, I've got a secure computer here, so anything you send me is, it will be securely here. I wouldn't suggest it storing it locally. Just get it to me, and then you can delete it at your end, and I delete it once it's done, once we've looked at it. So that's yeah, it doesn't sort of stay anywhere else for longer than it needs to be. And you get full permission from the person. I mean, that's that you can share the recording with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that's what I was checking out, sort of how long you'd be keeping recordings
yeah,
from,
sure.
and whether I was going to be responsible for holding recordings, or it's literally sending them straight to you,
Yeah,
and then you delete them as ASAP.
yeah, they're stored on Zoom in under their sort of secure wherever. But basically, they're somewhere secure, either with you, with me, or with on Zoom. But yeah, they're never longer than the time we need to look at them.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, no, that's good. That's fair enough. And yeah, and on that note, you will meet people who don't want to do that. Like I don't want to be recorded. Okay, I mean that's fine. You can still do the work, um,
okay,
respecting what feels right for them.
okay. Thanks.
Don't Lily.
Yeah, Peter, all the training events, are they online or is there any in-person events?
Do you mean training with your cohort? When
So
because that trick, yeah.
you have training events Yeah, so cohort, and then under that is training events.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
are they all online, those training
Yes.
events? Yeah.
Yeah. That's referring to what your cohort do together is are those on
Okay.
their online
Okay.
courses. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I used to run in-person trainings, but for these events, but actually, I think there's a lot of spreading it out over weeks works well. I think for this kind of material rather than meeting for a weekend. I mean, sometimes it crops up. There's an option to meet as a group, depending on where we're spread in the country, and I'm absolutely open to that. So that's something I don't sort of can't really start out advertising that because it's too logistically tricky. But yeah, you never know. Mm,
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Should I say a few more bits? Is that on? I just want to say a bit about some sort of logistical pieces of it. So time scale. I want to talk about time scale. So the time you're together as a cohort and with me is 12 months, more or less, not including assisting and mentoring, which you can stretch that out a bit further. But normally people take 12 to 18 months to do the training. So it's definitely doable in 12 months if you've got a bit of spare time. If you're not like working full time with family, for example, that might be tricky to do it. But if you've got a bit of free time, I would say like on a 2 to 3 hours a week, which is including class time, sometimes a bit more. Some when you're assisting, also that might be a couple more hours each week. And then there'll be big breaks in that too, like during when you're not meeting as a cohort. So like if you treat it like a school year, it's like 3 terms, and during that time it's maybe 2 to 4 hours a week or something. Now, some of that can be spread out over a longer period as well. So, it's not as onerous as some therapeutic trainings or some trainings, but but it's definitely something you need to have time for. So it's good to bear in mind, if you've like got 3 other trainings on the go and you've just got a lot on your plate, then do consider carefully because it's happened a few times that people join the training and then they realize, hang on, I've not got any time for this. So yeah, consider that you need a little bit of free time in your life to apply. Um, so timescale, I'll put this in the chat. Some people take a little bit longer. 2 years is what I say is kind of really would be maximum. There are occasionally people who sort of have to drop out for a while and come back because of health reasons. So maybe but once it gets over a couple of years, what I've noticed is people tend to fade away. If you haven't really gotten to grips with it by that point, then it probably might not happen. So yeah, that's just been my experience. 12 to 18 months, 2 to 4 hours a week, maybe a little bit more in term time. I'm going to call it term time. The cost is, I think I've got this right, 2185 for the training. I think that's right. So that's yeah, and you can spread that. Normally people pay a deposit and then spread the rest over three three payments or 4 payments or 2 payments, or some people pay it all in one go because they've got the savings. But so yeah, as long as we clear, and as long as I don't have to remind you, I'm pretty flexible. That's my principle. So one of the things I don't want to be doing is chasing payments because no one enjoys that. So once we get it set up, it's fine. So that's the cost of the training. A couple of the bits, yeah. Prerequisites are I can't spell requisites. Kind of 4 to 5 modules. So to join the training, you would have done 4 to 5 modules of training. Ideally, more than that. It's because I know some people here just in the early stages of doing those modules, and by the time the training starts, would have had 4 modules. That's definitely doable. Um, Obviously, the more experience you've got under your belt, the easier the training is. I think that's one thing I've noticed. Um, so 4 to 5 modules, courses, depending on the teacher you've done it with, might not call it that. That's my name for them. But you've done a few months, a good few months, 6 months, or focusing practice. Hopefully, you've got focusing partnership practice going. Yeah. So those are prerequisites. And who's the training for? Well, it's for anyone. Doesn't it's anyone who wants to deepen Anyone, there you go, simple. Anyone who wants to deepen your focusing practice, share it one-to-one, professionally, or you just want to do it because you love focusing. I had someone do my training because they just want to share it with their friends. Yeah, Guido. Yeah, those 4 to 5 modules are called, in my system, they're called the BFA Focusing Skills course. Now, if you've done a couple of courses and you did the untangling retreat, I remember, with Anne, so that's probably, you probably got enough hours. You're looking at really like 50 hours worth of teaching time, more or less. So you might have done slightly, you might have been doing focusing with a different teacher, but if you've done 50 hours of training, um, and some of the guiding skills, which is about how to offer suggestions to people, then you probably got the requirements. If it's not clear, basically we'll get in touch and we would talk about what you've done and see if it's suitable. I definitely have people joining in some different routes. Rory, I see you've got a question about that. Does the introductory workshop substitute? Which depends on what in workshop that was, Rory. Do you mind saying who that was with or what it was?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. It was just a 2-day intro workshop in London.
Oh, okay, yeah, right, yeah. So that would be like the first of those modules, and then depending on who taught those modules, they might be offering further, whatever they call them, workshops, but it'll be another 3 or 4 weekends on top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah. And the reason being is just, so focusing is really in there. When you join the training, you've sort of really embedded it more fully. It's more of a living thing in you, really. So yeah, that's why that's a requirement. You could be, people come on a training, they're like coaches, therapists, body workers, artists, people who are kind of into, I don't know, embodiment. Sometimes it's people who are definitely professional leaning. They want to learn how to put this in their professional career, and that's definitely what we it's kind of aimed at. And there are people who also do it, and it's not that they've got no intention of becoming a focusing practitioner, but they just really want to share it with some people, like say with their friends or with their community, and that's fine. You may not ever charge for a focusing session ever after the training, but it'll give you a very good, thorough training in how to do it. So that's yeah. Right, so I'm pausing there. Anything about those kind of practical pieces I put in, or any practical bits of the training you might want to know about?
Peter, it's going to be Wednesday mornings, is
That's
that
right.
right?
Yes.
And there's no way you can do it, because I can't do Wednesday mornings, but you can't do it through recordings and other sort of practice sessions to make the sort of equivalent, or is that sort of lose the whole structure?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you lose the whole. Well, you lose the support of those other people. I mean, sometimes people do miss some of those. There's definitely an option, not an option, but it's a possibility. Some of those are recorded and shared. But if all of them were, yeah, that would be tricky to join the training on that basis. Yeah, sorry, I know I had to decide on one or the other.
Yeah, I
I knew
understand.
I knew some people would lose out, and it's like, but the next, there'll be a next year, and there's other trainers I could recommend as well if you really want to follow it up. Yeah.
Thank
So yeah, it's a question. Is a final certificate universally recognized? Um, well, in the very small world of focusing, it's universally recognized. I mean, no, only 2 in 100 people know what focusing is. So, but it is, yeah. I mean, it's a recognized certificate. Yeah, it's a British Focusing Association practitioner certificate, which is recognized by the International Focusing Institute in America. So once you qualified with me, you can automatically join us with one of them, with that organization too. So in that sense, it's very much, yes, it's in the focusing world. It's recognized in that way. But it's I suppose why I'm slightly hesitating. Like if you went to, I don't know, like BACP or UKCP or like one of those kind of therapeutic organizations and said I've done this qualification, they probably like, well, wouldn't recognize it. So in that sense, it's sort of more in-house. But good question. But after the training, yeah, there's another also is you can say I'm a focusing practitioner, and you can charge for sessions. In fact, you can charge for sessions even before the end of the training. So yeah, you can it will give you a sort of professional network, as support, supervision. There's a kind of whole lot of benefits that come with it in that way. Yeah, Dieter.
Um, I have taken up an offer on the big shift for 25,
Oh yeah.
and I think there's another course I signed up for. So I like the focusing on the good.
Oh yes,
I think
yes.
you do that with her. Would
That's
that
right.
will those two modules or courses be? Could I enter those in the requirements of this training?
Yeah, they count to some extent. I mean, I'm not sure whether one of them includes Well, I know the course I'm doing with Anne doesn't include partnership. I mean, the main thing is partnership practice.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
those courses, without doubt, will add to your knowledge of focusing, and they're
Yeah,
great. They're
without
great
doubt.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
They're sort of. I'll take them into account if you sort of mean if
Okay,
you
that's
yeah,
all I
absolutely,
wanted
yeah,
to know.
yeah. The
Great.
more experience you can get, the better. Really. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
the
No, I
principle.
like the idea of having a whole year vision
Mm,
and what I've seen and read, a lot of people focus on the critical stuff, on the hurt, on the pain. Let's put it
right.
like this. And so that's why I like the idea to say, oh, why not about learning about focusing on the good stuff?
Yeah, that's right. That's
That
what that
was
course is
I
about.
found that very, very attractive.
No, I'm glad. Yeah, good, good. I hope to, yeah, look forward to seeing you there. I mean, that's right for me. I mean, that's what I'm sharing is focusing isn't just about problems. You can use focusing to guide and explore all sorts of dimensions of life. So
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, anything else on those practical pieces?
Um, Slightly not squarely the practical piece, but just more a question about the visibility of focusing as a therapeutic method compare
Mm,
and understand you're trained in somatic experiencing.
yes.
And do you have a sense of is focusing still relatively not known, or is it growing in demand, do you think? Or what's your sense of that relative to somatic
Yeah.
experiencing?
I think it is. I mean, it's not growing fast. That's what I will say. But it is growing. Like I think more and more people have heard of it now in the sort of, yeah, therapy, embodiment, well-being, trauma worlds, like whereas 20 years ago when I started, it was much less well known. So I think it's easier to make some kind of living out of offering focusing sessions, at least as part of what you're doing now than it ever was. Um, Still, a lot of people don't know what it's about, but I think a lot of people are interested in this kind of topic these days yeah, because trauma is more in the awareness, and well-being is more in awareness, and mindfulness, and all those things have kind of raised the profile of focusing, sort of indirectly. Um, yeah, so not sure if does that answer your question.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Pierre.
yeah. So, whereas if someone asked me 15 years ago, can I make a living out of it? So, well, it's like you can. It's very hard. Now I'll just say it's maybe slightly less hard, still possible, especially if you've got another discipline, another approach. I mean, a lot of people bring focusing into something else they're doing, which is really in and of itself, it's a bit hard to market, as some of you might know, but because it works so beautifully with other things, then that's where its gift is. I think one of its gifts is it mixes so well with other practices, and it really enhances them. In fact, yeah. But yeah, more and more people are becoming practitioners and offering courses, and that's good. It's getting out there slowly. Hazel,
Yeah, I don't think I'm that interested in becoming a practitioner.
right?
Uh, I'm more interested in, carrying on for myself because I've
Mm,
really enjoyed what I've done with you over
sure,
a year now. So yeah, you're not really doing any other the sort of longer courses like we've done untangling.
that's right.
So are there other people that you could recommend that maybe would do, some 3-month courses or something like that?
The only people I know, yeah, it's Anne and Barbara really do longer courses. I mean, the one that Dieter mentioned, the shift one, or I think the year long. They do a few year long courses, which you would certainly be have the prerequisites to join. Aside from, and I would really love to do it. I just haven't quite got it planned out and worked out yet, basically. But I would like to do some longer courses. But yeah, watch this space, but probably not till a couple of years or a year or two's time. But,
Right,
yeah,
so nobody does anything like your untangling, but
not as
3
far as I know. Not as far as I know. I mean, apart from as in the people who invented untangling, do their courses. That's good. Yeah. No, I really recommend. I'm doing their year of getting free. I think it's called course, which is March to March, and I really that's great. That's a partnership course, 30 weeks, I think it is, 30 meetings. Yeah, really, really good course. I mean, it's untangling, but over a longer period. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's great.
Yeah, I had a question, Peter.
Sure, go ahead, Catherine.
So it relates to a potential student who might be interested in doing it for their own development in focusing,
Yeah,
your training.
yeah,
And when it comes to the 7 people,
yeah,
if you were then thinking about turning to friends, family,
hmm
in order to invite them to come along board, for then your own development
yeah,
working in this program, is it ever a snag, for want of a better word, that they might say, "Oh yes, 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 for you, I'd be very happy to do a few sessions of that, even though I don't know anything about it."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that a snag at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I'd love.
good, because
I've been.
that's what I've been thinking about,
Yeah.
whether that might be a bit of a snag.
Yeah, well, not in every case, but I mean, we'll go into it in detail in the course. But I advise some careful sensing and clarity when
Uh,
working with people who you know,
Thank
because
you,
yeah,
thank you.
because yeah, it can get. People worked with their bosses and went terribly wrong, or family members. Can you imagine? It's like you've got to be careful. I mean, not
Yeah,
because it's dangerous, but because the boundaries are all different with somebody who knows. So
that's the boundary thing that have been
exactly.
going. Yeah, lovely.
But
Thank you.
I can give you people to work with. So I a few times a year I do a call out for people
Yes,
who want sessions.
you mentioned in the PDF that you could give guidance, but
Yeah,
it was that particular scenario
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because people who see your enthusiasm,
Exactly. Yeah.
and then they want to be kind and responsive about that. And I could, in some instances, I could see that being a snag.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm glad you picked up on that. Yes, that's right. That's right. Thanks. All right, a couple of pieces more. So next steps. So unless there's any other, just pause. Any other questions about any aspect of it, please just put your hand up and ask. Before I do this last bit. Hi, Lee. Yeah, that was a question.
I did read your PDF, and in it you did offer 40 minutes to one-on-one
That's right.
to just clarify the your felt sense about doing the course.
Yeah,
Is that still a
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're interested in doing the course, I mean, what I
yeah,
say, there's sort of steps. Is like there might be some practical questions, so come back, email to and forth, and then when you're ready to like really consider it, and if you want to, you can take up on that offer of 40 minutes. So that can be conversation or it could be focusing. It's really to help you get a sense of if it's right for you or not.
mm,
And I don't do
okay.
that in all cases because some people I've been working with for many months, I know for many years. So it would be like, yep, come on board if you're ready. I mean,
Right.
if they want it, that's fine, but it's not a requirement for everybody. But it's certainly something I offer. So yeah,
Okay.
that's one of the next steps. So yeah, if you're interested, do let me know. Depending on your experience, obviously there's that sort of prerequisite piece to think about. Yeah, and we can, and if it feels right, we could do this 40-minute focusing / conversation to check if it's right for you. Because yeah, the main thing is it's got to feel right for you and for me. And so
Mm.
if there's any uncertainty around that, then let's get in touch and feel into that. Because there's other people offering trainings, and it's got to be the right time and right all those things that lead to a decision of when something's right can be complex. So yeah, I'll help you navigate some of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have had quite a lot of interest this year, and I think I might have said that in the email I sent to everyone. So yeah, there's 12 spaces. I've already got a couple, but that there's only 10 spaces left now. So if you are interested, do put a deposit down soonish, just so it's and well, so you assume all the other bits are in place. Yeah, it begins at the end of April, as you've seen. Yeah. So maybe this is something for later, maybe it's something for next year, or a couple of years in the future, and have it. If it's not quite fitting right now, then you know a little bit more about it. I'll put this video on my YouTube channel, and I'll put it in the practitioner page on my course, and I'll send it out to everyone as well. So yeah, that's where it's going to be. Yeah, I think that feels complete to me. Anything else from anybody? All right, great. Well, looking forward to seeing some of you there. Yeah, as I say, get in touch, and I'll send the do some follow up to this this seminar tomorrow. And other than that, yeah, see you around. Great, thanks for joining me.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Peter.
Peter.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye for now,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Peter.
Peter.
Bye.
Bye for now.